Hi, it's me again. My goodness me. I went out for a cup of coffee a fortnight ago in the spirit of celebration of life. And I hadn't seen this woman, friend of mine, for a long time. So we were catching up and she was telling me about how she got married and she has a child. And we were talking about marriage and relationships. And then maybe it triggered me. A week after that, a friend of mine called me. And then he said to me that, I don't know what's happening in this city. Every woman has a child. And I was asking him why he said that. And he said that he'd met a woman he thought was lovely. And then when he went back around and was checking up on her on social media, he discovered that she has, a whole child, a big child. And so I've been interrogating his mind about why that would be bothersome. He shared some concerns with me. And I thought that would make for an interesting conversation. What to factor in, or things to be mindful of. Things to be mindful of when you're dating or you are getting into a relationship with a man or a woman who has a child. I think that's important, don't you think? So my friend's concern, also my other friend, the girlfriend I met, was asking me, oh, by the way, Eric, would you date a chick who has a child? And I answered her. But my friend's concern was this. He said that he was worried that the baby daddy would be, just strutting by randomly when they're having their private moment. And many other concerns he shared. And I think it's important if you're going to, first and foremost, I was telling him, I don't think any man or any woman is cut out to date somebody who has a child. And if it's not your cup of coffee, then don't drink it. Just leave it there. Leave it there. Leave it there alone. But I was telling him, in my mind, if you have taken up and decided to date somebody who has a child, then it's very important to know in your mind that their children are their priority because they are their children. So you cannot get into the relationship and start demanding more time and fighting with them about time, even against their children. Their children come first. They would come first to you, So I think that is very important. The second thing that comes to my mind if you're going to date somebody who has a child, be they male or female, is to try. I've had a lot of my women friends tell me that they get really uncomfortable with guys who really push the agenda of wanting to know the child real quick. I think you should allow the relationship between you and the child to develop naturally more than you pushing. You know those guys you tell like, oh yeah, so Patrick, I just thought to come to the open and let you know I have 2 kids. The dad, the children's father and I are not quite all right. We don't have a good relationship, but he has a relationship with his children. I love babies. I want to meet your babies. Tomorrow in the afternoon? So I think that's also a bit off. I think it would be nice if you just waited it out to grow naturally so you don't scare somebody and their kids away, I think. All right? Also, when my friend was telling me about this concern of his, if you're a lady and you're dating somebody and already you've abandoned that relationship with whom you sired kids with the other guy, then I think it would suffice to have a conversation about boundaries, don't you think? So that he doesn't just walk up on you guys, or she doesn't just walk up on you guys. Yes, we had a relationship, Philip, and we got 2 beautiful kids out of this relationship, but you and I can't get along for obvious reasons, so we broke up. But here I am now with Derek, and I value that relationship. And we are building something together in that relationship. So I would prefer that we have boundaries. I could prepare the kids for you as we normally do on Saturday, so you can pick them up. But calling me at, say, midnight to want to talk when you're drunk is hurting my relationship. All right? So I think some guys are very wary of some of these things. My friend once told me that this woman he's married to had the ex come into the house and she handled it really well. I mean, the woman stepped out and talked to the guy, and he was telling me that in 7 years he's never ever seen that guy. And in fact, we were laughing and wondering what she might have told him. So I think it's important, even you as a single woman or man who wants to pursue another interest in another relationship, to have that conversation. I think it's very, very important. All right. The other thing, in my reading and conversations, I spoke once with a psychologist, and he was telling me that when you partner up with somebody and you have a child, or you both have children, you should not take up the role of disciplining the children, your partner's child. You leave the disciplining to the biological parents. Okay? Unless and until they ask you for support. Now you can't be there like, mimi wacha nikwambie, mimi kama Sospita napenda nidhamu sana. I beat kids, bana. So maybe you can go beat your own kids, but don't beat her kids. It's a shaky ground. It can bring a lot of wahala. You don't want that. What else do I think somebody should espouse? I think it's equally important to allow for proper planning and give space in terms of planning ahead. I mean, single mothers, like when I think about my mother, things would happen. One time I was riding a bike and I fell off the bike. She wasn't planning it. So if the neighbors call and say, oh, Erika ameanguka na baiskeli, and she was on a date, she'd have to leave, you know? So I think if you're going to date a woman who has a child or a man who has a child, you have to factor in planning ahead and also leave space for maybe not so pleasant eventualities, you know? House helps flake, kids fall sick at night or even during the day. There are school weekend excursions with the children, swimming competition with the kids. There's just so many things. So you cannot be fixated with, you know, you're such a bum, Pamela. Every time we plan something, oh, your child is sick. Your child is sick. When will you ever just have our time alone? That's unnecessary pressure. You don't want to give that to a woman or a man who has a child. So plan ahead and expect sometimes, not all the times, but expect some unpleasant eventualities. It's just all right. So that if you're in the midst of a movie, you're Netflixing and chilling, and our phone buzzes and she needs to dash, be supportive. You can drop her back and even help take the kid to the hospital. All right? I think it's very important. So you have to always permit for that time where she or he can, you know, cancel on a date. Be their support, not their pain. I think that's very important. The other thing, which a lot of men have talked to struggle with, and I think it's sad, maybe because maybe the women they're dating have not handled it really well, but understanding that the man will be part and parcel of his children's life, or the woman will be part and parcel of her children's life, whichever the case may be. So you cannot start demanding to completely have or obliterate that relationship. Her children love him. He may be a terrible boyfriend or may have been a terrible you know, ex-husband, but he has a relationship with the kids. So accepting that that is a relationship you can't meddle with is very important. So you again, you can't come in with rules like, oh, you know, this guy comes around too much. Oh, I'm not comfortable with this Saturday arrangement. How come he comes picking? Those are his kids. It's very important to be able to do that, right? Allow him to have time with his children. And don't make it hard for him or her about that arrangement. I think it's very, very important. You know, I was talking to a woman once and she was telling me the way most men, the few times, so she got divorced and she has 3 wonderful babies. And she was telling me the way most men can be very mean when they realize that maybe you are divorced or you are a single mother, so they say things like, oh, I know you've been handling cobwebs, it's been a while. And then she just told me she stopped altogether going on dates. So I think there's also a thing to be said about respecting somebody. I mean, life, as I keep saying, is not in a straight line. Some of us have our spouses die on us. Others, I will never blame the parent who stayed. That the man started to up and leave and the woman started to up and leave cannot then be made the fault of the past parent that stayed. The parent that left is the one that has a problem. So it's sad that in the society, for many years, really, even from when I think about growing up in my mother's house, that women especially are castigated about being single mothers, and it's really frowned upon, and they look at you some type of way, like, you know, maybe you're promiscuous or weird, which is sad. All right. So also just a word of caution, maybe something to think about, maybe not a caution. But if somebody, say, should express to you that they have a child and it's not sitting well with you, then you can just respectfully tell them. You just say, you know, I don't have enough of myself to handle somebody else's child, but I appreciate you having come on the date. But don't be mean to them. Don't say crazy things like cobwebs. Don't think yourself as a trophy so that you're rescuing them into life of bliss. No. I think we can all be better for it if we acted a little bit better. All right? I hope I didn't forget anything. If you're a single woman and you're looking to date, maybe you can share in the comment section with me some of the things that a man needs to be cognizant of. Either something that was said to you that didn't sit well with you, or something that is an oversight on our part so that we can learn. All right? Good evening.